Today's going to be a little bit different. Today we are jumping into a Discord server to discuss setting up Pathfinder within Foundry. So with that, we're going to go ahead and jump in and see who joins us today. So we will see when people show up, but till then, I'm going to go ahead and go through my normal routine of let's go through some stuff to figure it out. Well, because this is going to be kind of a tutorial, I'm going to uncheck all my modules. We're just going to deactivate all modules. Which, yeah, that kind of hurts. Because I love all these modules that I choose. And so, I have some different modules than others, but alright, here we go. First things first, probably what I really should have done was I should have grabbed a fresh world, but we have reset everything to what it would look like if it was a brand new world. So now if I was smart, I would have copied all my settings and saved them on a JSON file like I could. But no, I was rash and didn't think about it. Regretting it, but that is what it is. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with anyone who cares to join in. So, well, let's go ahead, let's do some things that I would do no matter what. And that includes going through my modules. Now, because I'm on the Forge, let me actually do something else. I'm going to open up a Forge page. And there we go, the Forge. Okay. So, when people get on, and, well, here we go. So, I run my games through the Forge. I have Curse of Strahd. I have 2 game campaigns for it. I have a Pathfinder 2e world that I'm working with, and a Savage Worlds that I'm working with. There's also a Star Wars one. I created that for a friend to use, and this is Death House. A friend set this up to run a campaign, or run a one-shot for their family, after renaming it from a different one-shot that I was a part of. So they just reskinned a world that was already existing. Alright. Foundry's a little different how it's set up, or Forges, because you have your games, you have your game configuration, save points, Forge, Workshop, Bazaar, Assets. The only one I'm really going to go into is the Bazaar, and basically that's where you install all of your game systems, worlds, modules, and so I'm just going to go over there for the modules. And so when people would like to ask some questions about that, I am ready to answer those. But until then, I am going to go ahead and yep, I'm going to just leave this alone. I've got installed over 200 modules. I'm at 221, but that does not mean that they're installed in the worlds. Now, currently it shows I have 1 active module, and I bet you it's going to show as the Forge. Yep, the Forge. That one comes by default with the Forge when you use the Forge. I mean, that kind of just is what it is. Yeah, so this module allows players to browse their Forge assets library from their local games. This module is automatically enabled for users on the Forge and is therefore not required when running your game on the Forge website. So, as you can see, I have 180 that are available to me within Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Just because I can, let's go ahead and open up the Forge. I'm going to open up Savage Worlds. The reason why I'm going with Savage Worlds instead of one of my Curse of Strahd campaigns is because it is not a a D&D campaign. The reason why I'm specific on that is because the D&D campaigns, uh, there's a lot to them that, or they're a lot more. A lot of my modules were focused on D&D. So looking at Savage Worlds modules, again, 180 available. So, all right. So done with Savage Worlds. Let's see here. All right. I'm gonna go through these kind of one at a time, discuss why I use them and how I use them. And so, raise my hand. Pretty straightforward item, in my opinion. Now, you'll see when you choose to add a module, it'll pop up saying, hey, I need this other module in order to function properly. You can either enable it by clicking yes, or you can go through and enable it manually. I'm just going to let you know, it's easiest to just say yes, that way you don't forget, unless you were to scroll down immediately and take care of it. The danger of clicking yes, though, is if that module has a dependency on something else, in which case it's a headache. But I know that's a primary functional module that is needed for a lot of these, so I'm not too worried. So raise my hand, simply enough. Player clicks this toggled button. I'm just going to save the settings, that way I can show you. Raise my hand's a good one, because when it shows up, it lets you know, hey, this player needs attention. My only downside to it, and now you can see it here on the left, is this white hand. My only, the only thing I don't care for. Okay, so right now this is actually a pretty quiet module when you don't change anything on the settings on it, and I'll show you changing those. But oh, so if I'm requesting attention, I'll click raise my hand, and as is, it'll just in the player log, oh, it'll show a raised hand. Now, what bugs me is the icon for the token controls over here has one hand, and then everywhere else you see raise my hand, it's the other hand. So that bugs me. But yeah, right now it's just on toggle mode. Now it shows the hand icon on the player list, very helpful. Display user interface notification. So a notification will be displayed for all characters, or for all players. That's actually not a bad one to have, in my opinion, because then it lets everybody know, hey, this person wants a chance to talk. Now, permanent UI notification, that means it will stay up until you click the X. And I'll show you what that kind of display looks like. I'm not going to mark it as permanent. Now, you can also have it set for notification only for GM. Pretty straightforward, only lets the GM know. Show a chat message. I'll show you that one. That one's interesting. And then again, chat message only for the GM. Add image to the chat message. Yes. And then you can change the image, but I find that this one is pretty good at being what it is. Alright. So no need to change that. Image width. You can set the size of the custom image or player avatar. It is in percentage. I'm gonna go ahead. I know how. I'll leave it at 100 so you can see how big it is. Replace chat dialogue image with player avatar. Now we'll just leave it as is. Because the player avatar if you go into user configuration, is this. Most players do not set a player avatar. I personally don't set a player avatar. So, don't even bother. In fact, that's not my red. That's closer. Actually, I think that might have been exactly it. Alright. Show dialogue. Uh, so show a dialogue with the defined image. And then also play sound. And then sound volume. Alright. This one I do know. I do want to drop it down just in case it's too loud. I find it interesting that they say use 0.1 for 10%. Lowest we can go is 0.2. There's also an option for an X card, so if you have to stop because of something graphic. Okay, I'm going to save those settings. It might refresh, and it will. But here we go. To me, this is a good module because it provides safety and such. Alright, so raise my hand. You got all this stuff that pops up. So yeah. So you saw the banner across the interface up top, and then you had this little pop-up. The little pop-up I don't care for. Nope. Configure settings. So raise my hand. Show a hand in players list. Like I said. Oh, it's not showing in the players list. Very interesting. Display user interface notification. We saw that. Oh, I bet you. No, I don't see why. Okay, so I do like how I personally I like having the work in toggle mode off, but it seems that for the hand to show on the player list, it has to be enabled. So just disable it. That way there's no problems. I am going to say the image that shows up is kind of interesting. Now, as we see, those are rather big images. So I'm going to drop it down to 20 personally and see how that goes. Now, what I have not yet shown you is that there's a new option, the X card. So if things are too graphic, too whatever, and it needs to come to a stop, this is what the X card is for. And as you can tell, it's rather annoying. I actually, while it's a great safety thing, it's actually been more of a hindrance in my games because people like to goof around with it. So if people are goofing around with it, it's not a good safety tool. So there's that. That there's that little module. I like it. It's very helpful. Um, if people jump on, I will get to answer some questions, but it seems that nobody's deciding to show up. So I'm going to just keep going. Let's go with our next module. Ambient. All right, so ambient doors. When you do your walling, and I'll show you some walls. I'm just going to draw a few different ones. Then we got our invisible walls. We got our ethereal walls. And we got our doors. And we got our secret doors. I'm just going to create some lights. And alright, well, that's not very effective. Alright, well, as you can see, this light comes to a dead stop right here with a regular wall. It's a wall. Just that's what it is. Um, Now, the next wall, the reason why I drew two of it is because it's an uh, terrain wall. So when you pass through the first wall, your vision is then or so they do what is called limited sight. So once you cross your sight through one wall, if you encounter that same wall or a wall, then your vision will stop at that wall. Same with lights. So that's what happened here with these. The next one is an invisible wall. Um, Sight can go through it, but physically you cannot. I mean, that's how that one works. Ethereal walls. Let me go ahead and create an actor. I always create an actor that is named Party. That way, world maps, I can give everyone observer rights. So, um, this one, well, this isn't working too well because I'm the GM. This one basically is going to block all sight from passing through. Actually, let's do this. Light animation, I'm going to go chroma because it's going to stand out. Orange. And I want it big, bright, and bold, and I need to make this bigger, so we're going to go with 15. Alright. There we go. We can tell that there is a light source now. Alright. Obviously, the token can't see through it, and neither can the light, but you can still move through it. Because that's how ethereal walls work. Great for if you have like curtains. So, at least that's been my experience. Now, doors. Doors are doors. You can open them, you can close them. If you right click, you can lock them. Now, with ambient doors, it will make it so those doors make sounds. Now, if you noticed, here is a door, and here is a secret door. Functions the same way, but is secret. So, when you line it up with walls, it will look like a wall to the party or to the players. But to you, the game master, you kind of see behind all the doors. You see through it all. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to reload with ambient doors. And I should probably turn the music off on the Forge and have it on separate. So I'm going to go ahead and load that up. And so I'm going to go ahead and stop it on here. Ooh, that one jumped out at you. Alright. Ambient doors depends on libwrapper. Alright, so you see how I started up libwrapper, or started this module, and it didn't pop up with a, hey, I need this. Yeah, that happens sometimes. So now we know we need to go install that module. So let's go install that module. Now, libwrapper is another one that is kind of a mandatory. Libwrapper, socket lib, and color settings. Those three are universally, you're going to end up with those if you install any modules. So I'm just going to enable all three of those, get it done and over with. Would have been smart to start with those. So here we go. Alright. I'm actually going to pause the music for this. Door. Oh. Okay, there we go. So there's your sounds of opening and closing. And locking and unlocking. It's going to be the same with the secret door. And that's what we got. So there's walls. And there, it was a lot more than what I needed to go over, but I wanted to cover ambient doors to the fullest and show you what it does. Now you can go into the settings, go into ambient doors, you can change volume, you can change the sounds, who has permission to do a silent door. So a silent door is going to be really straightforward, easy. Um, so open, close. The only difference is you hold Alt to do the silent door. As a GM, sometimes you're like, oh crap, I forgot to lock this door. Hold down Alt, lock it. They never know. Okay, those are two that I feel are good to haves. Um, Autocomplete Whisper, you can whisper messages to anybody. It'll be /W and then whatever their player name is. So for me, it would be Last Red King. And I would type out Last Red King. Now, some people do their aliases that are not straightforward. That's where Autocomplete Whisper comes in. Once you do /W, it'll pop up with a list of your players. So that one's pretty straightforward, easy enough to describe. Um, Next one I'm going to go over are dice. Alright. Dice, there is one module you need, and it rules all dice. And that is Dice So Nice. However, if you get the one, you cannot stop there. You're going to need all the extras that are available. And as you see, they're all popping up saying they need the dependency Dice So Nice, which is true. And the other one you're going to want is Dice Tray. Dice Tray is a lot quicker and simpler to explain. Let me go ahead and just enable it and show you what we got. And I'll also show you Dice So Nice. So, I did say same settings, right? Oh, I bet you it's because of this. Hey, how are you doing? Because nobody else has joined. Yep, you're the first person to join me tonight. So I've been just talking away about some of these modules that I use for Foundry, whether it be Pathfinder, Savage Worlds, D&D, Star Wars. Um, but yeah, right now I just enabled a module called Dice Tray that lets me have all these quick buttons for dice down at the bottom of the chat log, as well as a little dice calculator, which is not popping up, so it must be, oh, there it is, it's just being slow. And so that pops up and makes it easy for doing calculations. So the other module I just enabled is a fun one that I think everybody should enable, and that is Dice So Nice. And so that's pretty much your 3D dice, and you can do a lot of different things with it, which is nice. So like you can change your D20 or how it looks. I thought there was some other fun ones. Oh, here we go. Okay. Yeah, so are you working off with Foundry off of the app or through a hosting service? Okay, sweet. So right now I'm working out of the Forge. So what you would do is you would go to the Bazaar and go to the modules. And from there you would be looking for a module. This one would be called Dice So Nice, and it gives you your 3D dice. Now, there are a lot of other modules that pop up with it. Those are add-ons to Dice So Nice. And so they give you more customization to your dice. So, um, I know for me, I might not really collect dice, but when given the chance to on digital dice, why not? So, and so you got your different themes, which is basically different customizations, um, and they're presets for the most part. You can do custom, in which you choose kind of what kind of texture they have, um, and then you can choose your colorations. There's a lot of customizing you can do with your Dice So Nice. You can change what surface they're rolled on. So felt, wood. Oh, you can't hear me? Oh shoot. Discord's not wanting to hear me. Discord. Oh. It looks like my internet was having a little bit of issue. Alright, let's try this. Alright, you hear me now? Yeah, something happened with the internet. Disconnected me for a hot second. Alright, so we were discussing Dice So Nice, and yeah, it's just there's a lot of different customizations out there for it. A lot of them are free, but I do know that there is a site out there where you can purchase customizations. Um, I think it's called Rollsmith, but I mean, even with the free ones, you still have like 100+ variations you can do. Um, yeah, I mean, you got sounds, effects, you got special effects. So, like, if you set it up, your D20 roll on a natural 20, it'll do something. It can glow, it can make sounds, all sorts of things. The trick then is getting it to roll a d20 or a natural 20. Uh, but yeah, there's dice rolling. I got one that was a 20. Oh, back up here. You can also click open your dice roll and it'll show you in green your 20 or your maximum number on the die, and then in red it'll show you your lowest number on the die, or the um, 1, since 1 is always going to be the lowest. So, um, and then there's several different options that you can enable or disable. Um, Personally, I like having as much option as many dice rolled as possible. So for me, I never disable rolls. So, oh, showing ghost dice for hidden rolls. That one's always fun. Uh, so if I do a okay, uh, it's going to show as is right now because I'm in the GM view. But if I had a player view, it would show question marks on all those dice for all the numbers. So, alright. Um, a few other modules I've already installed was Raise My Hand. It gives a little hand icon on the token controls, and basically this lets the party know that hey, this person wants to talk or needs to mention something. So, and then ambient doors. When you put down doors, uh, now they will have sounds to them. Open, close, lock, and unlock. course, the sounds are being slow right now, so probably having internet issues. But, um, and then let's see here. Autocomplete Whisper, that one's a nice one if you use whispered messages. Um, so /W, and then you can say players, and then it'll do all the players. Or you can do GM, and it'll whisper the game master. If you wanted to do someone specific, well, I can't whisper myself. If I had another player on this world, I could start typing their alias, and it would be their player alias, not their character. Then it would whisper to them. Um, that is autocomplete whisper, and I'll share the full list of what modules I use once we get them enabled and all that. Um, One thing I like to enable is chat portrait. This allows, if you have a token selected and you do something, or if it's a player and they have a character assigned to them, then it'll show that portrait of that character in the chat log. So right here where it just says my player alias, um, I'm going to go ahead, make that change. That's the one thing about modules is when you enable one, it reloads the whole world. So if you do plan on doing a lot of them, doing them all at once always makes it quick and easy. Right now the party doesn't really have anything, but if I roll a d6, oh, I did it as blind, but whatever. Now it has an icon. One thing that I really like about Pathfinder on Foundry is that it automatically has these toggle buttons underneath for damage and all that. That is a nice touch. You had to install modules for 5th edition to do that. So, um, there's character portrait. Um, oh, this one. Is this going to be... Okay. So, on the top of your character sheet, it kind of has a few different gears, or a few different things. Token, so you can configure the token, configuration of the sheet, and stuff like that. I like just having those icons just because I am familiar with Foundry. And so I'll just do the cleaner sheet title bar, and then it'll just have those icons. So it'll have the X, it'll have the gear, and it'll have the little token image instead of the written out close configuration token. So once this finishes loading, there we go. Yep, there you go. Now you got the X, the gear, and the token. And of course, when you hover over, it tells you what it is. So, all right, let's see what else we got here. One that is kind of niche is combat. Well, actually, I don't know if I need combat enhancements. So, combat enhancements, what it did was when there was a combat, okay, I probably do. I'm just gonna roll. Okay, so combat enhancements, it would what it does primarily is it makes it so that there's some changes here. So I'm going to save this module, refresh, and all that good stuff. What we're going to see is that there's going to be like a radial circle around the token image for the hit points. That way it's just a quick visual reminder of where they're at health-wise. So, and there we go. There's that green circle. But let me go ahead, give them some hit points. Oh, I need to adjust there. Oh, Um, I do not see. All right. Oh. All right. I'm not seeing how to change the maximum hit points on the character. Let's. I probably need to give it a class and everything actually. Now, if we go to compendiums, it can be quite a long list. Actually, it is a long list. This is just what comes with Pathfinder 2nd Edition, the system. Nothing has been imported from any other modules. So one module I am going to recommend for Pathfinder wholeheartedly is compendium folders. And yay, reload time. um, and so what it's going to do is it's going to put all those compendiums. They're already sorted by type, so like actors, playlists, journals, and all the other ones, and it's going to make them those categories folders. And so you'll see that here in a little bit. Um, so that way you don't have that huge old list that you have to scroll through. And so now they're folders. You can click on it, open it up, and find what you're looking for a lot easier. In this case, since we want to add some stuff to this token, we're going to go with item. And I'm just going to choose class. I'm going to throw a cleric on them. And you should be able to just drag and drop it down. Select a deity. We're going to go with this one. I don't know what I just chose. War priest, I guess. Alright, there we go. We got some hit points. That's what I was after. Alright. So yeah, you can, anything that's on here in the compendium, you can open it up and drag and drop it. So like, if I wanted to bring in Abyssal Pact for a spell, it seems to be taking a little bit. I'm going to blame my internet for that, which is odd because usually I don't have issues with it. Acid Storm. It's interesting. Alright, yep, it's being very slow for me. Okay, see, it's trying to have me choose a few different things. I'm just gonna close those. I'm really surprised I can't get spells to come in. Let's try an item, or an actual, yeah, let's try an actual item. No, not equipment effects. I want equipment. There we go. Alcohol. There we go. Let's just drop that in here. There we go. So yeah, you can drag and drop stuff from the compendium into character sheets. That way you don't have to, if it's something you don't use often, that's a good way to do it because everything you move into your items section starts to slow down the world. So the more things that are out of compendiums starts to slow things down. Um, Same with scenes, especially scenes, because scenes, once you start adding on lights and walls, it slows it down. Um, um, all right. Oh, we were looking at the combat enhancements. So they've got 8 hit points now. I'm going to hope that my internet lets me show you things. There we go. All right. I'm going to take 2 points. Let's take 5 points away. All right. Now we see it went from green to orange, and it's reduced. And we'll take you down to 1 hit point, and now we're in red. So Alright. And the encounter. Oh, so one thing, actually, before I do that, uh, is if you have to keep going back to the encounter and the chat messages, it's going to get tiresome. So if you right click, and this applies to any of these up here, if you right click on it, it'll pop it out. So you can see it separately. And so personally, I like to put my combat or encounter tracker down here right next to the chat log. So, and then once you get a long string of enemies, let's see if I can drop it. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, Discord cut out on me again. So if you're running one what? Okay. Um, so starting an encounter is pretty straightforward. Um, you'll highlight all the tokens. Mhm. So you'll highlight your tokens, and you'll right click on them, and the bottom right, or you'll right click on one of them. In the bottom right corner, there will be toggle combat state, and that'll put them into the encounter tracker. Um, Trying to get this to clear out for us so I can show you a new one. Actually, let's do this. Yeah, my internet's being really crappy tonight, so this is fun. I know this has not been fun, Discord or internet, whichever one of you is responsible. Um, all right. So when you've got your encounter set up, you'll want to right click or you want to highlight the tokens that are going to be engaged in the combat. Right click on one of them. In the bottom right corner, there's a sword and shield. That'll toggle their combat state. You click on that, it'll throw them into the encounter tracker, and you'll need to roll their initiative. For players, I let them roll theirs. Uh, and so there's a button here with a little gear on it. That's for rolling all the NPCs. So roll. Oh gosh. Okay. And so that'll roll all those. Yeah. And then to begin the encounter, you'll hit begin encounter. And now you've entered into combat. So, yep. And then once they go through combat and are done, you can hit end encounter, uh, and then confirm. And then it's cleared up. You'll see their combat state is cleared. So when it's not clear, it'll have the orange box around it. So, all right. Yep. Feel free to keep asking questions. But best way I'm going to be able to help you. Um, Dramatic rolls kind of does the same thing as the ambient doors, but if you roll a natural 1 or a natural 20, it'll make sounds accordingly. Um, so, like cheering for 20 and booing for a 1 on the die. Um, Easy target. So, if you're trying to target something, right now, if you hover over it and press T, it'll target it. Or you can go to your token controls, choose the one that looks like a target, and then you can just click on everybody that you, or click on one target and it'll make that the target. If you hold shift, it'll let you select multiple. And then to clear it, you just click on the targeted individual and it'll clear. With easy target, um, you can hold or use alt and then click and it'll target. I didn't know about the T before, so easy targets just kind of become what I'm used to. But just hovering your mouse over and pressing T works just as well. Though I don't know. Yeah, you can still do Shift T and it'll work to highlight multiple. So honestly, I'm probably not going to keep easy target. Um, if you use audio through Foundry, faster audio preload is one I recommend. Um, and then sometimes modules don't like to play nice, and they'll screw something up. Um, and so the best way to find out which one messed up is to um, disable half your modules and then re-enable them in batches of half at a time until you come across the error again. Dang it. I'm going to have a conversation with my internet service provider. I'm going to have a word with my internet service provider at this rate. Um, so yeah, if you find that you have after installing some modules that something's gone awry and is not working, um, you basically have to test which one is the problem. Find the culprit makes it a lot faster. So it's a good backup to have in case you have to go through and find out which one's causing problems. Um, Force client settings. This makes it so you can enforce certain settings on everybody or on certain players. I think that's a great one for helping everybody kind of get started and set up. So, um, at least that is if you're familiar with what you want to enforce. There are some things that I would not ever enforce. So if we go into configure settings, um, there are some things that are like photosensitivity things. I would personally never touch that. Let that be something your players have control over because you never know who's going to have photosensitivity issues. Um, I'm sorry. I keep seeing that it keeps doing the disconnecting thing almost. It gets down to one bar on the Discord. Um, I will have it recorded, so I can at least post that. Alright, so we're going to try something different. We're going to try joining up with the phone um, and going from there. So, yeah, this session is not going as planned. Um, Not really their fault. Dang. Alright. Well, that's kind of been disappointing. As I was saying, I would not force certain settings on clients just because it can be an issue. And it looks like just the internet alone is just wanting to be crappy right now. Um, well, that's going to be it for me tonight. Can't get the internet to cooperate. I don't have control over that, which is one sucky part, but is what it is. I guess we'll try again tomorrow. Till next time.